Yama Refuina Kwaba, Ahanum a Mega TV. Godfred Odame and Sisi were finding himself in trouble. Nina and say, Samubakaya, Bayer Emreka Credi, and a Yura John Germany Mahama, or appointee Yura Dr. Honorable Dominic Ayine as the Attorney General. That is a buying lawyer panipa. Now, or appointee no. There is, and I said there are a series of cases, court cases, Urano were discontinued. Bit say the case between Abino any Richard Japa any auto forcing were cancelled. That is the ambulance scandal and ameboa trials or something like that. And now the case between former NDC national chairman Samuel Ofusu-Ampofo, yes, and also were discontinued. And the other cases beer were the court for more than 8 years. Our susu say we any omokani saying any legit evidence be a bit me then our case in ya twaso. And omoko brofu bit say Latin word noli prosequi. HSA to discontinue the case. What you say? We be case in so. Sadly, we not hear a Godfred Odame. That akonya no say obitimi ayesa. But because of so say opese say abang resources. Opese always abang sika on these cases. I intimi mfa hwe embra abantino. He decided to obey yes. But bra yera John Mahama appointee yera Dominic Ayine, Dr. Dominic Ayine no, and Urano will discontinue all these cases. Now since that, MPP for many years so muntiase. See then and our ba na case da honum the way twam na we na ha the fa senior na chesense bebre. And NDC communicated be about one ochiremu a. Wama the full reasons why I say case there was a Yura Leonard Dominic Dr. Ayine, the Attorney General no utimi na utra sa case may noli prosequi no. Yonko tis and chimuno fabra. I best so do comment beto comment session na wala kijumadi na wa share na for any bear hanum your number one authentic platform Mega TV. Iguswa SM the best of news. Yonko tis and okwa na famre koba beto so ediamam.
You're welcome. Happy New Year. I haven't seen you this year, right?
Sure.
Right after elections, I haven't really seen you.
No.
Right. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You look good.
Same.
I like the whole, inspiration. The locks inspiration.
Thank you.
Anyway,
you're looking
good
too.
Thank you.
How is everything with you?
Oh, well, I think we've started on a hot note.
Yeah.
By the government. So we are watching.
We are watching.
Okay. You're watching. Anyway, Tabitha, you're welcome. All right, let me come back to Beatrice. Beatrice, just a summary of all that has happened.
Annie, thank you very much. I think that I was very scandalized to hear that Godfred Odame actually had the temerity to come out to talk about the issue of the nolle prosequi as we've been discussing over the past week. And why do I say this? I think if there is any Attorney General who never carried himself with the grace and honor that an Attorney General should carry himself with, it is Godfred Odame. He will go down in the history of this country as an Attorney General who brought no honor to the office. In fact, he was a total embarrassment to all lawyers. And I was shocked that Godfred Odame could actually have the temerity to speak. Well, I don't even know how to describe this, but it shows you the levels of impunity and the levels of low standards we've had to deal with in the last 8 years. That even when the people of Ghana have booted them out of power, they would not even have time for sober reflections and ask themselves what could probably be so wrong as to subject an entire MPP to this kind of embarrassment in the last election. And I think that the MPP are not learning, but in their not learning, perhaps it will be good for us in the NDC. And why do I say that? Any student of law, or you need not even be a student of law to know that an attorney general ought not to give any reason howsoever described when the attorney general chooses to exercise the discretion to enter what we call a nolle prosequi, which simply means that no case to prosecute. That's just the big Latin word, nolle prosequi. Godfred Odame as an attorney general entered nolle prosequi. In fact, because the law says that he had no reason to give, or he was not mandated to give any reasons, and he did not give any reasons, many people called and said that in tandem with advancement of constitutional democracy, we think that we ought to know the reasons behind why an attorney general then ought to enter a nolle prosequi, and they'll quickly tell you that the law does not say that they have to give a reason, or in their usual phrase, go to court if you disagree. Today, and let me take this opportunity to salute my learned senior Dominic Ayeni, who has contributed and has enriched our jurisprudence as long as constitutional law is concerned. I can imagine the excitement on the faces of constitutional law lecturers when they are teaching their students and they are having to use what Mr. or Dr. Ayeni has done. What did Dr. Ayeni do? Dr. Ayeni said that although as an attorney general, the law says that I can enter a nolle prosequi without giving anybody any explanation, I believe that in tandem with Article 296, in my exercise of the discretion to enter a nolle prosequi or to continue a prosecution of any case, I ought to give a reason which is fair, which is candid, and in a manner that shows that the NDC government is accountable to the people of Ghana. And so if you ask me, this is an expansion of what we have been advocating for in constitutional law. And I'm happy that we are having to discuss these things and not having to discuss an attorney general that says that I owe nobody an obligation. I do what the law says and I have done it and nobody can fault me. If you have an issue, go to court. And so this morning, I want to salute Dr. Dominic Ayeni. And with this precedent set, it will be very difficult for any attorney general who is progressive to say that in subsequent nolle prosequi, I will not give a reason. So let's give honor and let's praise where we have to praise. And that, I salute Dr. Ayeni on that. Now, Dr. Ayeni, having given a reason for entering the nolle prosequi.
For the purpose of education, I wanted the viewers to know what the article entails, Article 296.
Okay.
You want to read or you want me to?
Oh, you can read.
Okay, so Article 296 says that exercise of discretionary powers. Where this constitution or in any of the law discretionary power is vested in any person or authority, clause A, that discretionary power shall be deemed to imply a duty to be fair and candid. B, the exercise of the discretionary power shall not be arbitrary, capricious, or biased, whether by resentment, prejudice, or personal dislike, or prejudice, or personal dislike, and shall be in accordance with due process of the law. And C, where the person or authority is not a judge or other judicial officer, there shall be published Okay, they shall be published by constitutional instruments or statutory instruments, regulations that are not inconsistent with the provisions of this constitution, or that other law to govern the exercise of the discretionary power.
Okay, so basically what it's saying is that when you are given a discretionary power, it is to do or to abstain from doing an act. And so to do or to abstain from doing an act, you ought to be guided by certain principle. You cannot say that you are a God unto yourself because I can say yes or no, so I just have to do it. And I'm saying that although Act 30 says that an Attorney General need not give evidence, reason for entering a nolle prosequi, what Dr. Yini did, and that is actually what should be the position of the law, and that was the dissenting opinion in the Gregory Afoko case at the Supreme Court by Justice Kwamwan, that you ought to tell the public, it's a matter of public interest, so you can't just sit in the comfort of your room and say that I don't want to do it. But be that as it may, I want us, for the purposes of this morning, to journey and see why Godfred Odame is a very dishonest person and should not have been an Attorney General in the Fourth Republic, and has taken our jurisprudence way back, and they have practically messed up not only the judicial system but even the business climate because of a lot of the unethical practices. The courts became like a safe haven where it did not matter the merit of the case. He was so comfortable, whether by calling judges on phone, by visiting judges in their offices, or doing things which we as legal practitioners were actually very new and very novel, if you ask us. But we are being told that it is good, and I'll come there. First of all the cases which Dr. Ayini has entered a nolle prosequi in respect of are cases which were politically motivated. I can understand when people want to say that, oh, it is just you wanting to clear NDC people. But I want to take my time this morning and explain that it's got nothing with anybody wanting to clear NDC people. And this is why. In the case of the Republic versus Ernest Thompson, Godfred Odame charged Mr. Ernest Thompson with over 20 counts, which are 20 different offenses, while he was in power. In the submission of no case, the court itself struck out over 17 of those charges as being frivolous, without basis, and did not show anything. There was no evidence supporting those charges. And so any Attorney General worth his salt would not have 17 charges being struck off out of 20 charges. In the first place, that should tell you that there was something fundamentally wrong, that this gentleman wanted to just charge people, and he just has the penchant of coming after people who express contrary view. I'm sure if I were a public officer, by reason of calling Godfred Odame out, I would be subjected to some charges. That is how he abused the use of his prosecutorial powers as an Attorney General. And so Dr. Ayini tells you that having done these things, there is no merit in that case. You yourself, 17 charges were struck out. In 8 years, you could not get your court, which you had access to call judges or meet them or go to their offices, something you said was normal and the court would oblige you if you do. You could not get conviction. You expect Dr. Ayini to come and do what with those? Now, in respect of Collins Dauda, and this is why many people should be sad that the once office an Attorney General, which was so revered, which the likes of Joe Randolph held, and they are own Joe Randolph, and today has been reduced to naught. In the case of Collins Dauda, this is what Godfred Odame did. He charged him with misapplying public funds to the tune of $200 million. Annie, if Godfred Odame even chose to do an armchair investigation where you sit in the office and you call people to even bring you documents, that charge ought not to have been preferred against Collins Dauda. Why? Because even the bank records will show that Ghana did not receive any $200 million. That the amount which came to Ghana, exclusive of bank charges and other charges anytime you contract a facility, was 198 million. And so ab initio, from the beginning, you are charging a person for misapplying funds or willfully causing financial loss to a figure that did not even exist in the first place, that the government of Ghana did not receive. It shows you that these prosecutions were actually accentuated by malice. Somebody just wanted NDC people behind bars because they were in power. Again, before you can say that a person has actually misapplied funds, I mean, you need to look at what the funds were, what they were used for, and come to a determination that this total sum has been misapplied. You know what they did? Saglemi was supposed to be 5,000 units. There is evidence that Saglemi had over 1,500 units. So even out of that 200 million, which never came, which was 198 as I have established, 1,500 units were built. So even if you wanted to charge him, why would you not do the balancing and see that, okay, by the valuation, the existing Saglemi cost this. The balance is what we are charging you for. Again, in one of the charges, he actually said that the basis of charging Mr. Collins Dauda was because he had issued interim payment certificates, where in this country are ministers responsible for issuing interim certificates. In cross-examination, when Godfred Odame's own witnesses were asked, in all the interim payment certificates you presented, can you show us where Mr. Dauda's signature was? There was not any. So why should any serious Attorney General, in the person of Dr. Ayini, continue with such a frivolous allegation prosecution because it satisfies the ego of Godfred Odame? He should get over himself. Then we had the Atuforcing. As for Atuforcing, I don't even know what the finance minister has done for Godfred Odame. I think the mere mention of Atuforcing's name, he just goes berserk. Because in the Atuforcing case, a court of appeal has actually acquitted and discharged Atuforcing and Mr. Jakba. So as we speak, there is even nothing on record to say that they were convicted. All they needed to do was to discontinue the appeal, that I am no longer interested in this appeal. But for them said, on Tiase. I think that if you look at all these things, you know what they wanted to do? They just wanted to prove to people that, oh, we can silence people. It was in tandem with the culture of silence. When you hear that Ahmed Swale has been killed, when you hear that Kaka, who was leading a charge for change, and many others have been killed, if they cannot kill you because you are not an ordinary citizen and you are a leading member of the NDC, they either will arrest you like they did in many cases, or they will just prosecute you. Now, I have seen that.
So just an update of this was reported by City FM Online on the July 30, 2024. Ambulance case, Court of Appeal acquits and discharges Atuforcing. Now, the Court of Appeal has acquitted and discharged the minority leader, Kessel Atuforcing, on the ongoing ambulance trial. The Court of Appeal sets aside the order for Atuforcing to open his defense by the trial court in the ongoing ambulance case. The Director Legal for the National Democratic Congress, NDC, Tamaklu, in an interview on Breakfast Show following the court's decision, explained that the appeal was filed after the trial dismissed the submission of no case, ruling that a case had been made against the accused persons. Quote, what happens is that after the prosecution called their witness, lawyers for the accused persons did what they call a submission of no case, and the court dismissed the submission of no case and ruled that the case has been made against accused person, warranting them to open their defense.
This is in what case?
City.
In which case are you talking about?
In the Atuforcing case.
No, that was at the trial court.
At the trial stage.
Yes, at the trial stage. So it is against this decision that they went to the Court of Appeal to say that the trial judge erred when she held that there is a case to answer. And then the Court of Appeal said, yes, you are right, because there is no case for you to answer. And so acquitted and discharged him of all the charges.
Okay.
So in his case, it's not even as if the Attorney General entered a nolle prosequi. He just said that I don't want to continue the appeal. Now let me expose the hypocrisy of Godfred Odame and why I keep saying that. He did not appreciate the obligations imposed on him at law, and also by reason of holding such a high office, and the discretion he ought to exercise for and on behalf of the people. I think that he could not make a distinction between being an MPP member and being an Attorney General or any ordinary minister. Because you see, by our training as lawyers, I can defend you, Annie, even when I don't like you, because you are my client. And so we are not to internalize our client's case. What Godfred Odame did was to internalize and personalize cases against people. I have no other reason not to come to the conclusion that he did not like.
How did you also come to the conclusion
so let me
that
tell
he internalized cases?
let me show you. In the case of the BOG governor now, Governor Isiama. Governor Isiama was a deputy governor at the Bank of Ghana. He did not have an oversight responsibility. And Annie, there are a number of cases in international law and in many common law jurisdictions that says that where a decision is made by the management of a central bank, it cannot be the decision of one person. It ought to be a collective decision, unless it comes under some special circumstances where you can impute that this person intended to do this in a manner that is criminal. And so if you wanted to prosecute the actions of people at the central bank in the first place, you ought not to single out Dr. Isiama.
Yeah.
And so it shows you that he had a certain vendetta against Isiama.
The person.
Yes, and I'll demonstrate to you. First of all, what was Godfred Odame's crime or charges against Dr. Isiama or Governor Isiama, as I like to call him? Godfred Odame says that the Bank of Ghana advanced a facility, which is a loan, to UNB to the tune of 300 million cedis. And I want viewers to journey with me well, so that when we expose the duplicity of Godfred Odame, it will not be because it's an NDC, NPP politics as usual. That it will be that these people sank this country so low that, you know, ordinarily certain things should be so ordinary, but now we are having to celebrate them because of how low we sank. Now, the Bank of Ghana advanced a loan of 300 million cedis to the UNB. Out of this 300 million, UNB was already paying the loan. So at the time Godfred Odame brought the charges against Governor Isiama, UNB had already paid 150 million out of the loan, and they were still paying the loan. And UNB also had another facility of 150, or they had monies of 150 million with CBG. And so even if CBG should pay UNB that money, they could quickly pay Bank of Ghana and there would have been no issue. But why? Godfred Odame says that if you were a deputy governor and loan facilities went through the normal banking procedures, where it went through banking supervision and all the internal procedures that happens at the Bank of Ghana, if he doesn't like you, he will come after you. Then when he wanted to prefer the charges, Annie, the DPP, and I have a copy of the memo here, the DPP wrote to Godfred Odame and said that we have reviewed the charges that you want to prefer against the man. In fact, we have not only reviewed the charges, we have also spoken to our own witness, which they call PW2. So I want to read to you what the memo said. A study of the fact of the case indicates that The initial facility of 300 million has been recovered, leaving 150 million outstanding. The office has confirmed from the Bank of Ghana through Mr. Alexander Ta, PWT, which is the prosecution's own witness, that the interest from the outstanding amount is presently being serviced by UMB Bank. Mr. Ta also indicated that UMB has an amount of 150 million locked up with CBG. It is expected that when the sum is released to UMB, the loan amount for which Johnson Esiama was being charged with causing financial loss will be repaid to the Bank of Ghana. This therefore may render the charges preferred against him moot, leading to his discharge. How do we go ahead with, how do we go ahead with prosecuting such a matter? So
can it be likened to the company that we procured the ambulances from, who said that they were also going to pay?
Yes, I think it stems from Godfred Dame's general misapprehension of loans, facilities, LCs, and all that. Maybe he should take a short course in that to help him. And you know, they wrote this memo. Annie, what is even instructive is that as we speak today, UMB has finished paying that loan.
Oh.
Yes, UMB has finished paying that loan. And that is why the DPP told Godfred Dame that if you should proceed with these charges, it is possible that at the time the trial was ongoing, it will become moot, because then there will be no loan, for which reason you will say that contrary to the Bank of Ghana regulation, he may have breached a certain rule. But you know where it gets even better? Governor Addison, their own Governor Addison, who says that people deserve water also, advanced a similar facility to the same UMB.
Same procedure.
Same procedure, same condition. You know why? UMB is termed as a bank which is called systematically important bank because of the number of institutions they are holding. So all over the world, when you are dealing with systematically important bank, you don't treat them like any ordinary bank. Okay. And so there was no mention anywhere that showed that Dr. Esiama had anything untoward to do, or that he benefited for the advancement of the loan, or that the loan facility which was advanced was not paid. So why do you want to prosecute him? Why? Because he had the potential to be a governor, and today he's a governor.
The Attorney General said something during his press conference, which I disagree with.
I will come to what he even said during his press conference to expose his duplicity again.
Okay, so the point I want to make is about causing financial loss to the state and maybe procurement processes. Mm-hmm. He sought to say, and I'm not quoting, I'm paraphrasing, he sought to say that if someone even causes financial loss to the state and you are using the law to retrieve, and these monies are retrievable, there's no need, advancing your case. Mm-hmm. But I thought that on the basis of timeliness, if some amount of money was needed at a certain point in time, and because of your inappropriate misbehavior or behavior, it causes the nation some inconvenience at some point, you should be held accountable for.
Yes, you should be held accountable. But before you can be held accountable, we ought to establish that indeed your action caused that financial. Okay. Then we can proceed to the second stage of whether we will convict you or we will enter into a plea bargain with you and retrieve the money.
Okay.
So before we come to that determination, and this is what Godfred Dame, when he gave a very long 12-page press conference on all the cases, when it got to Dr. Esiame's case, he only had one paragraph. The narration given by the Attorney General about why he discontinued the two different cases against Mr. Johnson Esiama disclosed a litany of untruth, half-truth, and a skillful manipulation of the facts. Be that as it may, as it is with manipulation of fact, the truth is always laid bare on being subjected to careful analysis. What the truth are, we don't know. What the counter and how truth are, he did not proceed to tell us. So it shows you the duplicity of Godfred Dame. Governor Esiama did nothing wrong. And you know what happened? The only reason why Godfred Dame chose to prosecute Governor Esiama is that Dr. Baumia has held whether a lecture or a public forum or however described. And he lied, consistent with his manner of lying about the mobile money interoperability. And then Dr. Isiama came to respond to him and said that, Mr. Vice President, you peddled untruth. Immediately after Dr. Isiama replied, Dr. Baumia, Godfred Odame said that, just like Ato Forson in the E-Levy case, I have to find a way to silence you. And so even against sound advice...
That's not based on suspicions.
Which suspicion?
That's your analysis.
But what is the basis? So now what is the basis?
Fact, because you're trying to establish that
I'm saying that
he internalized his issue.
Yes,
on
I'm
his
saying
court
that
cases.
the prosecution came right after that press conference by Dr. Isiama to set the record straight. And why do I say that? Do you know that Godfred Odame even destroyed this memo?
Yes, I was going to ask you if because he has
destroyed
the
memo that says that do not prosecute. You know, if you're a prosecutor,
did he destroy the memo?
He did. He shred it was. I'm sure his shredder was bigger. He destroyed the memo, but he forgot that the memo was sent via email, and so there are traces to them. That is how Godfred Odame behaves. You see, when you are a prosecutor, everybody is taught in law school, because when you are coming out of law school, you will not know whether you want to be a defense attorney or you want to be a prosecutor. So we are trained in the way that whether you're a prosecutor or a defense attorney, there are principles that must guide you. The first one is that it is not the prosecutor's duty to establish the guilt of an accused person at every time. That the prosecutor is interested and should be interested in doing justice. And so even where the prosecutor has evidence, which we say are exculpatory enough, you ought to present them to the court. But even before going to court, your own DPP who you send every day to court, as for her, I pity her. Because every day you are sent to court to go and prosecute a man, which you yourself have said that the charges against the man will become mute and there was nothing criminally minded there. It tells you that Godfred Odame was on a certain mission where he abused his prosecutorial powers. He was so you see, Godfred Odame wanted conviction so much that he doesn't mind calling a Supreme Court judge. He doesn't mind going to meet a Supreme Court judge in an office. In the Opuni trial, in one of the cases, the lawyers for Opuni deposed to the fact that Godfred Odame went to meet Justice Doche, who was a judge on the matter, before a judgment could be given, only for him to say that, oh, the reason was that there was some celebration. I wanted to ask him, how did there was some what? He did some very flimsy.
Why he went to see the
Justice Doche?
Well, the case was in session.
Yes, you call Justice Kulendi, and you know, anytime his professional conduct comes up, and he's being called out for who he is quick to hide under the courts. That, oh, the court said, and the court has held, and the court found, and the court found, whatever the court found. We also have consciences. Just like in the audio, he could not understand Elsie. And he was asking Jakpa, and Jakpa was explaining. Just like in the audio, he was compelling Jakpa to forge a medical report, which he has not denied. Just like in the audio, he admitted to calling a Supreme Court justice. We know who he is. And no Attorney General who has justice as the core. You know the thing about justice? Justice must not only be done, it must be seen to be done. And it must be so even if the heavens falls. So that we say that it is better for 1,000 guilty people to be walking the streets than for one innocent person to be behind bars. And so when you have an Attorney General who is so obsessed when he's doing a case, and the judge gets a ruling against him, by the next time the judge will have to be transferred, as we witnessed in the Opuni case. If he's doing a case, look at his utterances in the Jachi Kweson's case. He can sit in the comfort of his office, grant interview, and determine the guilt or otherwise of a person as a prosecutor. I think that Godfred Odame has a lot of questions to answer, and if I were him, I would reserve my energy for answering questions and not be, beating around the bush. If the NPP lost by an abysmal over 1.6 million, perhaps he contributed to about 400,000.
But he asks a very, important question. He says, if you believe that the accused, all those whose cases have been dropped, have a good case based on ethical and professional considerations, as Ayeni gives, defective charges as he gives, insufficient evidence. Are the judges not, potent enough to determine all these and rule on the case finally? Since he is even a new attorney general that has taken over, you should be able to run this case easily and clear them from the court instead of entering.
He's asking someone to do what he could not do in 8 years.
Yeah, that's what makes the difference.
It doesn't make a difference. It's actually, first of all, before you even go to a judge as a prosecutor, and for that matter as an attorney general, you ought to be convinced that I have a case, so that when you're standing before the judge or when you're presenting a case, you are not stupid. You can imagine saying that somebody has caused financial loss to the state, and your basis is that the person signed letters of credit. And then your witness comes to the box and you are asked, is the minister's signature in any of the letters of credit or interim payment certificates that you have presented? And then your own witness, your own prosecution witness says no. How stupid would you be? Godfred Odame did not have that kind of shame we had at the bar. Lawyers, sometimes we have a certain level of shame. When we are doing a case, we see that it's going this way. Sometimes you take an application, it is dismissed. You come back and you call the other counsel, I want to settle. What he wanted was conviction. It doesn't matter. Is that not the man who was telling Jakpa that? Because I want this conviction, don't come to court on this date. Go and say you are sick. Take a fake medical report so that we can adjourn.
In his presser, he said Jakpa himself said he was sick. If you are listening,
well, we didn't listen.
He said Jakpa himself said he was sick, so it wasn't that he was seeking for Jakpa to come and lie.
It is even more shameful that in his presser he admitted that he spoke to Jakpa. That is even more shameful than even what Jakpa said or did not say. As a lawyer speaking to another person who is represented, and he makes one other point. He says that, oh, you know what? Dr. Ayeni just wants to do this because that is what NDC people have been saying, and that if he was so conflicted because as defense counsel he believed in the innocence of these people, he should have delegated his powers to either another prosecutor. As for Godfred Odame, the least said about him, the better. The Attorney General is the one who enters the nolle prosequi. First of all, he must come to the decision that this case deserves or does not deserve, and then say that I'm entering the nolle prosequi before he can delegate. So if the person says that I don't believe in it, why would you delegate this belief? It is the absurdities that we've been hearing. They are so comfortable with going to court and securing judgments in 2 hours. They are so comfortable with calling judges. They are so comfortable with, practically compelling clients and witnesses to be doing things because they want to secure conviction, or because they think that having access to power is power without limitation. And so they cannot even tell. They've blurred the line. Today, Godfred Odame had the guts to come and talk about nolle prosequi when an attorney general has advanced our democracy and has given reason. Maybe some other lawyer in NPP, we would listen to the person. But in MDC, we are careful where we take our moral lessons from. And Godfred Odame should not be one of those people teaching us moral lessons. Having said that, let me conclude by assuring the people of Ghana that there is a new system of governance that the NDC is putting in place. That governance which is in tandem with what we call constitutionalism. That even where the law says that you can do this and you are at liberty to do this, we still understand that we owe it an obligation to the people of Ghana to explain to them why we are doing some of these things. And whereas the NDC may not get it all right because we are not perfect, we will journey this governance with the people of Ghana. We will listen to them. Discretion which ought to be exercised will not be exercised in a manner that is capricious and that is frivolous and whimsical, and that is, built on the egos of a leader. And President Mahama, you have a man who is committed to making sure that together we build our country and we set very important tenets of our democracy. In President Mahama, you will not have his Attorney General placing phone calls to judges. You will not have his Attorney Generals rushing to court and getting judgment in 2 hours. Everybody will be equal before the law. And even if it means that sometimes it may affect government, that is what it means. And so I want Ghanaians to keep faith. I want Ghanaians to know that this is a new NDC that will be committed to doing the right things. We will be listening to people. What we saw, the democracy have abuses of human rights and all that, you will not see that in this government. And if you want to take a lecture, it certainly should not be from Godfred Odame.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
So quick one. This is how Isikoe. And well done, madam. Well done. With me, I explain things. Watch it in your mum. I'm here. Say yampa. These are the reasons why I was say that case should be discontinued. Now, MPP for one. When the American say, say one person on beba power bill. Now, so more person or boba power. No more person or musanji to me. Then some of their behaviors, they should desist from it. They should desist from some of their behaviors. B. That is propaganda. What? Commentary. Propaganda commentary. Mati say na yura John Mahama. She say there onye ni ora team she say wajai. She say oye clearing agent. Oya ya na wa clear o see discontinue. Oya ya na wa clear o see discontinue. Bon, mo kika say ya e magana for adwens. That is a fact. And this for co-position in 2017. And on what realizing who say she say adina ya kon enye propaganda and ebema ye di nkunim bio. And for that matter, go back to the people. Let's go back to the people who gives power and who take power. The people who give power and who take power. Let's go to them and ask what they want from we, the NDC people. Ampa, omoko Ghana for honor. Ekubisa di omupe. At the People's Manifesto ebai. MPP for Marco position. We are expecting you to buy now mobile come on too because I buy it too early to criticize. But I don't want to say book enemies mama because mo binum tina radio so I must say I buy it new. And Timun Case, why are dear no nyanya dear? Mo binum so tina radio so I say I buy no or more home thing. Just say I hear different series of communications and I'm more MPP for Moma Ghana for. Momo machita for anya Ghana for Momo machita for even Ghana for Kwana a Momo machita for. Nancy Branty papa when he didn't cry the same. Oh sticker. There's what nice and buy from paying sim no pan papa in our camp. Stephen Amwa, former deputy finance minister. Our ye share so MPO. And you can tell, you can say these people they have lost focus. Totally, they have lost focus and they don't know what to do again. So the only thing is to propagate. And as one guy said, propagate or propaganda or whatever. Say omobeka asemenyen kware na omudie gu abani ho fi. But this is too early. And of course, some of your people are saying it. Say you're too early to criticize this crop of leadership. This abani. It is why are some of you embarrassing yourself instead of you to sit at your corner and plan for the party to what? To revive again. Because for now, we need party leadership. We see young for Kennedy Bra, we see young for Bohemian Bra, a crash it. And also, once I'm sorry. Bram, you become prime minister. I somewhere in 2027 or so. Namiyaduma. Or the young Pamaya, in just asem no so no ebesia sorry. So why would you be there and you know say dear we ebeboy you resolve once and for ebeboy other than to propagate asema emboa diamboa ni hia ena mokika many MPP for and Kasa me beko Ghana for home kind in the Kurasi, ye door to door campaign, and Kenyan drew ho, but ye be door to door campaign. I'm a Ghana for a GAD. It think Andrew a year 2028 general elections. So not Ghana for GD and Asia Bobio. But these people, I do be a discount. Omo monye bi eni so I know mo no mo di omuti be ja kirema. Ya ko position ya kwa ya ko. Omo mmodi nso omo tete radio so and omo ka ahomaso nsem. So no matter, no wonder why people will be in a position for next 16 years. And the opa oka oye de credit ho. Omo conversation about bontia because obia katis obia katis spell on them was obia the arrows and one act so. Aya na yesiri keke. Oye den na omo katis spell on you and as omo cast spell on you. It is very sad. It MPP for many more and those kind of propaganda no and ye jai ye policies and ye jai atwa yema mino ye nuanom ewo sebi nkron ketewa mu ene amu di nkomo e kiro mo de eba bi we besia ye bo mi ane nam Harvard University ena ogigi awards mi wa bekono award ikokotoy. It is very sad. It is very very sad. Chama wuntu mini na UK baby and on so minim some people for almost will be uncle UK. Say Harvard they will UK and I'm still to be corrected. Me and check here. But I know say UK now. And I chama to me na one way. This is where I used to sleep. Chama to me the bunja what. And aboa papa nso gina amoka say go to so and also then and people I pity you. I pity you people because munim dia moye. Because no wonder omo edisika omo mudisika no so omo samre uhwe Dennis Miracle Sabwaji baby a wun no ode ne ho akamura waje bam ayin na sem John Gina Paul na se waje bam wayifu waje bam waje bam ti second furata waje bam a ene yesana enkofo bi ka se witch hunting mi wa unye bayfo bi ene wo be hantu okuruma. It is only rich that are and I say it is only rich that are hunted. Ya bre, ya mubili ya bre. And people use common sense to and this are better position at check. And me and yam one second more we go into 20, 30, 50 kura umbet me disikano. That is why Fisika ya they see omuku hunwo omu claim say a canton fees and your canton feet. It is sad. I was how my about authentic channel better TV go so as the best of news. Best also be subscribe no like it within was share now for you be a share. You want me to for your coupon or United States of America. Mamma will be with UK. Ponchita na. Bibi a share TV no. Coupon koswa ishra. I was the day could see a pity. I mean for we see na for from to us. What you say, coupon share. Bye bye.